welcome back to There I Was. I'm your host again, Travis Womack. Today's very special guest is none other than Mark Parrish, coming to us from Utah. Mark's had a stellar career in the Army from 2000 to 2008 and is currently an owner of 18. Is that right?
That's correct.
McDonald franchises, which is so we're gonna have a pretty awesome conversation for sure today. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, Travis, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your mission and what you're working on. I think it's
So,
a beautiful thing. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate that. It's a veterans and sharing their stories is a unique thing, and everybody, there's a lot of shows out there and love them to death. I think Sean Ryan does a great job, and but there are a lot of special op things, and that's only a small percentage of people that serve are secret squirrels, as I call them. The
Yeah.
rest of us are the 99% that weren't that. We have a unique career, but also like to talk about how your influence in your time in the Army and how you've migrated into a stellar operation, to say the least. To have one franchise of any sort is one thing, and 18 is another. So, but what I like to do with any guest is kind of go back to that starting point of 2000 when you joined the National Guard. Kind of what that's pre 9/11, so that's a different beast in itself. So what was
Yeah.
your kind of driving factor to go raise your hand and say an oath?
I know. Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because I thought about that when I was 16, 17. I never thought I was going to join the military. My parents were against it. I was kind of against it because I just didn't see the purpose at the time. I knew already inside that I loved my country and I knew that our country was special. And I knew that there had to be someone that was always there to be able to volunteer to protect that. But at the time, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to go to high school. I'm going to college. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. So generally speaking, we go on a 2-year mission.
Right.
And I went to Brazil. I went to ACFU Brazil for 2 years. So I'm like, that's where I'm going to go serve. I'm not going to go serve in the military as well. But I graduated from high school. I'm 17 years old. And at the time, you couldn't go on to your Mormon or Church of Jesus Christ mission
Right.
until you're 19. So I'm like, flip, what am I going to do during all this time?
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, all right, I started doing a little bit of college. Grades weren't going well because I wasn't, I was sick of school, didn't really want to do school. So I'm like, I need to find a greater purpose in my life and something that's going to drive me, help me become a better person, and then also just keep me out of trouble. So decided to sign up, go to basic training, and I was probably one of the quickest people to be able to do so. I think I was 3 weeks or 4 weeks from the time that I enlisted until I was at basic training, Fort Sill,
Wow.
Oklahoma, in the middle of the summer, and then there for a little over 6 months. And yeah, so the timing of me deciding I should join the military was probably a 2-week thing where it was not a part of my life at all, and all of a sudden I'm like, all right, never mind, let's do it.
That's
And
crazy.
this conversation with my parents, I could tell their nervousness, right? Because they knew and understood what it meant more than I did. For me, I'm like, I've had friends that have gone and they've gone to basic training and they've told me some stories, but you don't know what it's like, and it's different for everybody.
Hmm.
And so my parents were very cautious. They didn't really want me to do it, but looking back at it today, man, I wouldn't change anything. The mistakes, the good things, the bad things.
You went to Fort Sill in the summertime, and that's a bad thing.
Dude, it was horrible because I was also there in the winter.
Oh,
We're doing our graduation ceremony and we were walking on a sheet of ice.
oh
And
yeah,
we had
it's
we had soldiers. I was a platoon guide at the time, so I'm marching us around. We had soldiers slipping and falling when we're taking turns as we're going to like, oh my gosh, this is a friggin' nightmare. But yeah, I had both the hot and the dry and the cold.
that's the funny thing I always tell people when they get to Fort Sill is that it's not the cold, it's the wind just makes everything
Yeah.
just ice, and it's miserable to drive. It's miserable to you obviously weren't driving, you're in training, but
Yeah.
it's a miserable environment. I was stationed there for 4 years, and it's like, oh crap, here comes the wind. And like last
And
night, do
yeah, the
what?
crappy leather boots, they just slipped on anything,
Hmm.
right? They just got a little wet. And so yeah, it was the nightmare.
That's
Um,
that's
but
awful.
a great
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
So as an artilleryman, National Guard, so you finished training, AIT, all did you go
Yeah,
straight
I did
through?
both together. Yeah.
Okay.
Same drill sergeant. I was one of those guys that you went to bed one day and it was basically woke up the next day. It was AIT, every
Right.
same drill sergeant.
Yeah. Oh,
Everything just
so
kept.
yeah.
Yeah.
So good deal. And so you went back to Utah after that, or
Yeah, I did.
okay.
Yeah, went back to Utah, and then I'm still just trying to figure out what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? And what that identity was going to be. So then I go on that 2 year mission, so I did my 2 years inactive, and that's when 9/11 happened. So I'm in a place called São Paulo, Brazil, what we call the Missionary Training Center. And I'm walking down the streets and they're like, Americans, Americans, hey, come look at this. And they're showing the TV of the Twin Towers.
Oh,
And I'm like, holy cow, I've only been in Brazil now for like 3 weeks. I'm supposed to be here for 2 years, and I see this happening. So now it's like, am I even going to be able to serve this Christian mission, or am I going to have to go back and be called up to war and all that kind of stuff? So it obviously it's like, all right, I had this plan, and now things keep changing, and not sure how it's going to be. But that's the military story for me my entire life. Yeah.
wow. I couldn't imagine being in Brazil. That is crazy. You're the first. I think you're in the top two now for the craziest places to be on 9/11 because I had a guy on the show a couple years ago who's on the USS Alabama, the nuclear
Oh, wow.
submarine, and they had just returned to port on the West Coast on September the 10th at like
Yeah.
nine at night, and they all disembarked, and they had like a day of leave, and he's guarding the boat when 9/11 happened. He's like everybody was coming back, and they get back in the boat, and they just the best place to be is out in the ocean, and
Yeah.
so Brazil, that's crazy because the understanding of things is like you just finished basic training, AIT, so like I would
Yeah.
assume like most trainees, there's like this like rise of patriotism, and whatnot. How,
Totally.
how did you handle that decision? What did you end up doing?
Well, I wasn't going to take the decision in my own hands because I'm like, I've already made this 2 year commitment. I'm already here in Brazil. And so I'm like, if they call me, obviously I'm going. Like it's
Yeah,
game time. But at the same time, we're walking down the street. I'd only been there a few weeks. I didn't speak Portuguese yet.
right.
I had very limited. So I'm trying to just understand the whole situation and what's going on. It was crazy. The sad part is I missed the time where the entire country seemed to unite behind
Yeah,
that incident happened. I wasn't there for that. I didn't get to see where, politics no longer divided people, and
yeah.
everybody was just like believing in America and its greatness and thinking that we need to protect that.
You
So
know, watch the
I did
Yankees
miss that
Mets
part.
Subway Series.
No, yeah.
That
So
was
you don't get to watch any TV. The only time we got to see the World Trade Centers is because we were walking by and, the guys are like, hey, come look at the TV inside at I think like a restaurant or cafe or something. So
wow.
anyway, crazy. Yeah.
That's a crazy experience. Um,
Yep.
so you finished up your mission trip. At some point you deployed, obviously.
Yes.
So walk us through kind of how that happened because National Guard,
Yeah.
most people are active duty, and it's a completely different game with reserves and National Guard.
Totally. Yeah, and so when you join National Guard, you're thinking that you're going to be protecting something in the homeland, right? Something, and that's your duty. But after 9/11, that completely changed. We just kind of became like another Army Reserve unit.
Hmm.
So home, now just going to college. I'm doing summer sales, door to door, trying to just figure out what I want to be in life. And but find this lady, we get engaged. The day, like 2 weeks after we've been engaged, get a call from the captain saying, "Hey, you're deploying to Ramadi, Iraq. You're going to go spend 18 months." So it was like 4 months training in Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and then the rest is going to be kind of like, in country, in and out of, with Kuwait and that kind of stuff. So I'm like sick, just got engaged, and he's like, "What day am I?" I said, "What day am I leaving?" He said, "Well, it's the day that was going to be our wedding date." So
Oh
we decided. So once again, like the same thing with the mission trip, it's like, all right, now I got to make a decision who I want to be and what I want to be. So we got married the next week. We actually pushed it up, got married 7 days later. Was married for 1 month before I left for 18 months.
wow.
And but those are the things because you look at situations like that and you're like, man, did I make the right decision? It's obviously very rushed,
Hmm.
but I'm a very religious person. I believe that that was intentional. God did
Yeah,
that on purpose. He knew that I needed that kind of support when I was going to be gone for 18 months. So He put her in my life, and our relationship moved so quickly
yeah.
because He knew that I needed. And so an incredible thing. Yeah. Then we go to Ramadi. We're on FOB Ramadi, which is a
Yeah.
Marine base. Generally speaking, about 5,000 troops. I was a part of the original troop surge before they really called it a troop surge. First
Hmm.
people wearing the ATUs in country, which was kind of cool because everybody else was wearing the old desert.
Yeah.
And so people thought we were like a unique special unit. So like we kind of got a little respect out of the get-go. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, but while I'm there, I'm artillery, right? I'm a 13 Bravo by training, and the whole time though, I was just out of the wire, doing more like 11 Bravo kind of stuff, and 13 Foxtrot. So we were kind of calling for fire from artillery, but we were patrolling streets every day. That's all
Yeah.
we did,
Well,
which was
Ramadi
great.
in 05, 06 was a crazy, crazy spot.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was, it was
there's
extremely
movies
crazy.
about that that area.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
So if you Jocko Willink, if you
yeah,
know who he
oh,
is, and Leif Babin, they wrote a book called Extreme Ownership, and
yep,
they were in
great
spring
book.
of 2006. Amazing book. Then you look at the Chris Cal story, the
Yep,
American Sniper. I
yep,
mean, part of that was the same time Ramadi, Iraq.
yep,
So yeah, that place was crazy. I mean, it's 15 miles west of Fallujah. It seems like people know about Fallujah more than Ramadi, even
yeah,
though Ramadi was a hotter spot than Fallujah at the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fallujah's always been a crazy. It's close to the water. It's closer to the water. That's why it's such a hot spot for fights because it's easy to.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a
we're both right along the Euphrates River.
right.
I mean, that's it. Anyway, yeah,
So it's great, crazy, crazy times for sure. Was
it's
it?
crazy.
It's called the. What's the triangle that's called for the Fallujah,
Yeah,
Vermont?
Sydney Triangle.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sydney
it's
Triangle.
just nothing good goes on in there, that part of the world.
I
You
mean,
know,
I wasn't even there at Fabermati for more than 4 hours until we got our first mortars dropping in, and
yeah,
we came in at night, right, by helicopter, and then every day we are getting mortared. I mean, we had hundreds killed while we were there. It
yeah,
was it was good. Um, it was an extremely violent place.
yeah. It's bonkers. Well, when you get back, and you're from that, which is a lot to say, and you're home. What about that experience and transitioning to what you're doing now and aspirations? How did that go? Because it's hard to unplug from that.
Yeah, it is. So before I left, the one thing that I knew, and this is one of those kind of spiritual religious things
Hmm.
again, is I knew that I had the opportunity to not go. So I was being attached to a different unit. And it was me and 12 other guys from my unit that got called up to be attached to a different unit to go overseas to the deployment. And then they said, hey, we actually had enough people show up. If you don't want to go anymore, you don't have to go. And mentally, emotionally, I had already been like, nah, we're going. My
Yeah.
buddies are going. We're all going. So, but as I was praying about that, I'm like, should I not? And it's like in my mind, I knew that I was going to be okay. Physically, I knew that I was going to come home whole. I didn't know what type of mental, emotional, any of
Hmm.
that, right? You're obviously a different person than you were when you left. And some of those things are going to be different forever, but I knew that I was going to survive. So I'm like, let's freaking go. And then which that drove me differently while I was in country too, because anytime I did a 24 on, 24 off kind of situation. So
Hmm.
you'd go out for 24 hours, be outside the wire doing your stuff, come back, and really you had like 20 hours. But anytime there was something extra, it's like, hey, we need to send a convoy to Baghdad. We need to go do this. It's like I'm in because I knew I was going to be okay. So it's like
Yeah.
while I'm here, I want to do the best I can to support, and let's freaking go. So it was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So when did so 2008 you get out? When did you decide from then to pursue franchising?
Yeah, so I'd been at McDonald's since I was 14 years old, in and out, in
Right.
and out. So everything that I did, in between all those other experiences, there was McDonald's.
Okay.
And I didn't think that it would ever turn into what it has today. I didn't really want to do McDonald's because it's an extremely tough job.
Yeah.
People, yeah, how many people complain about people at fast food joints all the time, right? And the difficulty of dealing with customers, the speed, the urgency. There's not a lot of profit in everything, so you're trying to seek perfection in order to make everything work. So I didn't want to, but every time I came back, it was like McDonald's was there for me because I left, came back, and then it's like, well, I felt comfortable. I'll go do McDonald's. I was successful there, and
Hmm.
I just kept doing that. Went did summer sales, came back McDonald's. My mission McDonald's, came back Ramadi McDonald's because all of those things were just a intermediary in between, and then McDonald's, and then it was probably when I was like 25 years old. I've been home from Iraq for a couple years, and it's like, hey, this thing's actually working pretty well. Let's just keep rolling along. And I was doing some things, education wise, but I only had an associate's at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to see if this McDonald's thing can make it work. And then I just kept going. And I could always find myself being above average when it came to results within the McDonald's system.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like I was number one because we're always comparing to each other. Everybody always is, right?
Right.
McDonald's is an interesting company where you do not buy a territory. So you don't have any territory rights. I can have a restaurant, and then if they're going to build one 5 miles away, they're going to give it to whoever they think is
Right.
best, not. because I'm there. They're
Right.
just going to say, who's going to get that? And so competitively, you're always trying to be your best, best in customer satisfaction, best in revenue growth, best in, and so I'm like, all right. And that's how they compared us. And they said, Mark, you're doing a pretty good job. We'd like to be able to grow with you. We'd like you to be a McDonald's franchisee. But then they had several more hoops for me to jump through before I
Oh
could
yeah.
actually get my first franchise. Yeah. And it was a dang difficult situation that took years,
Yeah.
years.
For those who've never done or looked into that between McDonald's, like I mentioned Chick-fil-A earlier,
Yeah.
or any of the Yum companies,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's all of them. They have different paths that they use to franchise, and there's different resources and all that stuff. I think it's all fascinating
Yeah.
until people don't realize that there's so much work to it. It's not just, hey, I can
Yeah.
do this. Here's my resume. Give me a store. It's like, no, there's way more to it than that. How do you feel? You mentioned the high performer and getting good results. How do you feel that your time as a 13 Bravo in a high stress environment like Ramadi, how did that play into good or bad into your success?
Yeah. Well, the first time I actually felt like I started gaining confidence in who I was as a person and a potential leader was at basic training.
Hmm.
My drill sergeant saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. I just saw myself as a short, underweight kid, that was just joining the military and I told you those reasons. But he allowed me to be an assistant platoon guide and then a platoon guide, where I had never seen myself as a leader until that point. And in the beginning, he was hard on me. Like, and I didn't realize until later, he's hard on the people that he liked. But Drill Sergeant Bedell, Benjamin Bedell, freaking stud. I will always look up to him because he was nice, but because he taught me things about myself and he taught me, and it allowed me to start having confidence to be a leader. But that started there. Like that was the first
Interesting.
time I'm like, someone else sees me as a leader. I can start seeing myself as a leader, and then I can influence people. And people, there's times where you get in trouble. Well, in basic training, they played games with you back in the day, right?
Constantly.
They would plant stuff in your wall locker and, do things like that. And there were times where other people got mad at me because I was a platoon guide and they thought I did something
Right.
wrong. And others were, no, you touch him, I'll take, I'm going to stand up for him. Those types of things, when you start learning and seeing those experiences, it was incredible. But confidence, that
Yeah.
was the first time I started getting confidence.
That's great.
And then after that, you start learning structure and you seeing how the military is organized with its communication channels, how we leaders eat last, right? So as a
It's
leader,
a
you're
great book.
supposed to, yeah, you take care of all your guys first, you check them out, all of those things. Because I remember as a sergeant in Ramadi, Iraq, every day before we went out, I'm checking all my guys. We're checking all our gear. We're making sure everything's fine. But that was my job to make sure we're okay, to run through the plans, the communication, all of the same stuff that we now do every day in the restaurants.
Mhm.
But there, it's just what you do. It's a part of the culture. And I think the military culture is an incredible culture.
Yeah.
Like
How do,
it's just the guys who came before us.
how do you feel that, gosh, I can imagine if you got 18 stores, you probably have over 1,000,
Yeah,
1,200,
thousand.
employees somewhere in there. You know,
Yeah,
um, how does that shift though? Because a small team, being a sergeant, you have 4 to 6, depending upon the job,
yeah,
maybe 9. Going from managing that and learning leadership and learning leadership traits and in a high stress environment like getting shot at, and then maturing that over the past, gosh, almost 20 years now, into running stores. So how, at least for me, one of the hardest things, I was an NCO and I was an officer. And so you're kind of
yeah.
in the same thing, going from being a sergeant to being a CEO in a sense, and getting putting away NCO things and shifting that mindset to like this delegation thing instead of doing. I don't know how else to put that, but it was a struggle for me. How did you handle that?
Well, it happened one step at a time because that's the only way it works,
Yeah.
right? So in the beginning, I was able to lead a restaurant and then buy one restaurant,
Hmm.
and then 3 years later, I was able to buy my second. But us as leaders, we're only capable of leading so many people. It's like 5 to 8 people,
Right.
and so really, then you have to build the structure where you have 5 to 8 people underneath you, your direct reports, and then if you need more, there's 5 to 8 under each one of them, and five to
Right.
eight under each of them, and that's how I learned. But that's also how I learned to be able to do it. The chain of command and communicating through the chain of command is where a lot of bosses make mistakes. They start trying to lead the entire 1,000 people.
Yep.
And so I don't lead 1,000 people. I lead the people who lead the people who take care of the customers,
Hmm.
right? And but if you try to lead all 1,000 people directly every day, there's no way. Your
Yes.
bandwidth isn't great enough. Your emotional, you wouldn't be able to do it and do it effectively. So that's what it's taught me today is I still only lead 5 to 8 people, but I have 1,000 people that are I'm responsible for and
Right.
accountable for their actions every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The military, I think, is the perfect example of that structure. And the team leader is the last. I always say I should write a paper on this or something, but it talks about um, it's the largest form of direct leadership
it
because as
is.
a team you've got five, and then as a squad leader you've to have two team leaders. If you're a platoon sergeant, you have only four squad leaders typically. I mean, there's variances,
Yeah,
and if you're a first sergeant or commander, you've got three or four platoons. And so your influence is the largest at the lowest level of leadership, and the most immature level technically. I mean, you got a bunch of 18-year-old kids that are trying to figure out what they're
right.
doing, so it's a very and in your organization, I'm sure you should have the same problem, or not problem is the wrong word, same challenge is a better way to put that, of because you have turnover as any organization will, but
Yeah,
like that initial level of team leader or whatever, I don't know what y'all's term is, um, of training, responsibility of training, is the responsibility of teaching just life. I mean, simple things like be on time, right uniform, right place, right time, basic one-on-one. And how does what things have you instituted that you've learned that, hey, this person is the kind of the key of the organization at that level, to because the culture of a unit or organization is kind of I think it's found at the bottom instead of at the top. That's
yeah, I
my
totally.
personal opinion.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump to that. But the other
Yeah.
thing that it taught me is like you have McDonald's Corporation, this is
Mhm.
one part, and then you have the franchisee. And
Right.
that's kind of the way I looked at commissioned officers versus non-commissioned officers as well. It's like we both have different roles and responsibilities, and you're getting the guidance and the intel. And
Mhm.
so the military got me ready for that side too, because the way we work between franchisees and franchisor is very similar to the way the non-coms worked with the commissioned
It's a
officers.
great analogy. I
So
like that.
when I look at everything and how the military structure is like, wow, that all helped me quite a bit. And you look at, I obviously the commander in chief, but you're getting down to your command sergeant majors and your colonels and stuff, and how the information trickled down one by one, and how
Hmm.
they're guiding the overall vision. And looking at those, and so every time I moved up, it's like, okay, now I'm a captain, now I'm a major. What would that look like in the business sense? How
Hmm.
many people would I deal with? How would I tell the vision? So it's very similar to that structure. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to bring that up
No,
too,
that's
because
great.
that's how it really works in the business world and especially in the franchise world, very similar to the military world. All right, what was that last part of your question again?
Talking about the that lowest level of leadership, and the,
Yeah,
the the influence that position has, team leader, shift leader, there's a hundred terms for it, but their role on influencing the culture of your organization, in the military does one thing, but also within McDonald's, it can be, you know, the happiness and the turnover rate of employees is kind of dictated at that level.
huge. Yeah. So if you think about turnover for me, I'm almost about 100% turnover. So
Right,
for me to have 1,000 people in my restaurants means I'm going to lose 1,000 in a year, and I have to hire 1,000 in a year.
wow,
So it's not like the military at all. Once you sign up and raise your hand, you're kind of stuck.
right.
So for us, it's then us identifying, because for me, I'm looking at the right kind of person, meaning the attributes, the qualities, the beliefs that they have, not necessarily what they know, because I can always teach anybody what they need to know.
Hmm.
Cooking fries is pretty easy, making Big Macs, it's all pretty easy. I just need the right person that can fit inside of the culture that can do that. Military is very much the same. When we were joining, it was people who were going to be teamwork, team oriented. Like, could you? And they made sure of that, because when one person got punished, everybody got punished. They were
Hmm.
trying to teach at the beginning that we were a team. We were not individuals. We won as a team or we lost as a team. And so trying to do that today is challenging, but it's the same thing. We win as a team, we lose as a team, but every individual has to contribute in order for the success of the team. So kind of similar, but in the beginning, I'm just trying to teach the overall vision. So
Yeah,
me personally, I have videos that they all watch at orientation to try and understand the overall vision of what we're
yeah.
trying to accomplish. And then now I have my leaders inside of the restaurants, and now try to sell that vision every day, meaning they teach the vision every day,
Hmm.
and then they have their KPIs to try to make it happen.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'd like to hit on though, when you go back to whenever you transitioned out and
Yeah.
you had a few years there before you were approached to take a franchise. You know, what was your biggest struggle? Because like taking off the uniform, taking off the IBA, you know,
Mhm.
and from that environment, you know, it doesn't just turn off. At least it hasn't for me, and most common
Right.
it doesn't just go away. You know, and it's kind of always lives there. So what do you how did you deal with that? Your transition out.
Yeah, transition out is hard because you're a different person, but that's what you want to be. Anytime you go do something, you don't want to come home the same person. You want
Hmm.
to be a person, someone who's learned and grow. Like there's things that I struggled for a very long time with, like night terrors,
Hmm.
break stuff, like threaten my wife in the middle of the night, like crazy stuff.
Hmm.
Those are some of the toughest things. But coming home, honestly, it was knowing knowing who I was and what I wanted to accomplish next was probably the toughest part because you have an identity in the military. It's
Yeah.
very clear who you are, what your purpose is. So as soon as I left that, trying to find out who I wanted to be next, because a lot of people they struggle emotionally or mentally because they don't know who they are. You come out of the military and you're like, I was a soldier. I was a band of brothers. I was someone who had people by
Hmm.
my side. I supported them. They supported me. And now I no longer have that structure or that part in my life. So who am I now? Luckily, because I'd already been in and out of McDonald's so many times, that was just my go-to. It was just
Hmm.
like, no, this is what you're going back to. And so then I automatically had some type of structure, some type of family, some type of identity of who I was right when I got out. Um, but then, you're still struggling because in the military, you outrank somebody and you tell them to do something, it's going to get done. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen in the business world.
Right.
Like they completely have agency. They completely can just tell you no, and if they don't like it, they can just like. So there's definitely some big
There's
differences.
competition of other employment.
Oh
That
yeah, of course.
and that's a huge challenge. I'm glad you said that because I think there's a lot of people struggle to admit that. You know, like,
Hmm.
oh, I was fine when I got out. It's like you went through alcohol at a rapid rate, you know, or whatever your vice is, you know. And I think I know the answer to this. You're probably going to lean on your belief, which is fantastic, you know.
Yeah,
And but what helped you most through that? Because you know the night terrors is a thing. I'm very familiar with that. The lack of sleeping, just horrible sleep because
yeah,
it's just off, you know, shortness. It's a
yeah.
non-technical term, but like you just become really short with people, and
Agitated. Yeah,
spouses are the number one victims of receiving that, you
yeah.
know. And so what kind of helped you the most in part one and part two is, you know, how did your wife handle that, and what would you encourage otherwise if they ever hear this to do or not do?
Yeah, great questions. So on the wife side, my wife is the person who is completely a service oriented person. So she's a completely non-selfish. So she made it as easy as possible. Like she understood when I came home that things were going to be different. Like she assumed it and she understood it and she supported it the entire time. Um, yeah, like these are good questions.
No, appreciate
So
that.
yeah.
I've lived it. I
Uh,
understand.
Yeah. The other part of just trying to adapt and change, it's I don't know, like you're trying to grow and become the next person you're supposed to be and try to leave that other stuff behind. And that transition is extremely difficult because like you said, it's who you are. But
Mhm.
my religious beliefs, I remember there was only one time in Ramadi, Iraq that I was actually afraid. Like I was scared, like where
Mhm.
my hope and faith, even though I told you at the beginning, it was like I knew I was gonna be okay. But there was one day, and it's in that movie American Sniper, where they had that sniper that was going out. We had intel that they were actually coming after me and my guys that day. Like the position we were at, where we were going to be working, is where he was going to be hunting us. Um, and so that was the one day that I was afraid. And once again, uh, prayed, all that kind of stuff. There was actually a sandstorm that day.
Mhm.
And so when you're talking about trying to be a sniper and try to take out some guys and there's a
It's tough.
sandstorm, that's not going to happen, right? It's over. So those are the things like, but the faith in who I was not necessarily what I was doing because I knew I was just doing what my commanders and everybody else told me to
Right.
do, and but knowing who I was and what who I was supposed to be, that's what got me through everything. But not having fear, that was a huge portion. That one day of fear, like
Hmm.
if I would have been in fear more than that one day, I mean, I had moments that were scary.
Right.
There's lots of
There's a
scary
difference. There's a
moments.
huge difference in
Yeah,
like this is a scary job. Crap. I hate driving down this road. Route
yeah.
Michigan sucks. All those things versus
Yeah. But
being
one day
afraid.
waking up and not actually being afraid. And
Yeah.
it was like a whole day. Like until the sandstorm starts rolling in and things and I'm like, holy cow, dude. Like this is awesome. Because
Yeah.
there was no way somebody was I mean, you got the winds blowing and stuff like that. There's just no chance.
Be the shot of the
Um,
century. to,
yeah, yeah.
in
Like,
in the wrong way, but still,
yeah.
that's crazy.
So it really comes down to that. Yeah, is really just that faith, hope, and belief in who, well, the identity of who I knew that I am
Hmm.
and what purpose I knew that I was supposed to serve, not just in the military that day, but later on as a father, as a leader, a presider of my home, a protector, provider of my home, those types of things. Knowing that who I was is what got me through everything.
That's great. I always tell when I was a NCO and had more direct contact with junior enlisted, as an officer, it was a super challenge. There's a huge break and people won't listen to you.
Yeah,
Is what if you have faith is to find it and latch onto it and don't let it go.
yeah,
And as a Christian man myself, that was definitely my thing to go to. And there's plenty of times where I remember very well we had a horrible accident and I went out and we had 7 guys get killed and that night, I walked out to the trucks just to get away from everybody and just screamed, as the artillery's firing in the background because no one could hear it. And because it's like you had those moments of just like it's got to go somewhere. And I think a lot of guys struggle for years with knowing where to put it,
mhm,
and it could be their fist or the wall, it could be through a bottle of alcohol, it could be driving too fast, or they're trying to recreate some form of traumatic stress
yeah.
versus how to deal with it, and it kind of ping pongs and puts himself in a bad position. But I'm really glad you said that. It's a problem. I don't know how else to put it. I think a lot of guys struggle with it, and I'm glad to know that you found a really good and always had a really good outlet in a sense.
Yeah,
Excuse
yeah,
me.
and I was grateful that while we're there, we had a chaplain. While we were there,
Mhm.
I continued my religious experience like it wasn't something that I was ever going to stop.
Yeah.
And you think, well, being in Iraq, being in a place where it's dangerous, where people are dying every day, you'd be more religious.
Mhm.
And I would say I was the same as I always was. And
Yeah.
most people, they don't just turn overnight. They don't just change overnight. Yeah,
Yeah.
you become who you are day by
Yeah.
day.
I don't think I've ever met an LDS chaplain. Now that I just realized that. Now I'm trying to think back through my whole career. I've
Yeah,
had lots of all the variations of Christianity. I don't think I've ever had an LDS one. I had two LDS people in my OCS class, and one of them was really funny. She was Hawaiian, and had this super long name, and we had to
yeah.
shorten it and stuff. And I'm like, wait, you're LDS? That does not fit the stereotype. So, but her husband did though, but not her. See, um, sorry, I want to hit something else. You kind of ties in. Did I read correctly in one of your profiles? You fly.
Oh yeah, I do.
So what do you
So
fly?
so today I fly an Epic E1000AX. So it's the newest version of an Epic. So it's a single engine turboprop,
Okay.
6-seater. Do you know much about airplanes? You a general aviation guy?
I've got a lot of friends that fly, and so I've always wanted to get my license, but it is the process of getting one is brutal time wise and expensive
Very
otherwise,
expensive.
and
Yeah.
I've
So
got an autistic son, so time is not a thing I've got all the time.
yeah, this was something that once again in the beginning I kind of it was like 15 years ago. I'm like, hey, I kind of want to fly. I kind of want to become a pilot, and I didn't have the vision of what it would be today. Now I fly 2 to 3 times a week. Two
Oh
days
wow.
ago, I flew down to Phoenix to go do. So I have a podcast that I call the Franchise Foreman. It's a franchise McDonald's business type podcast. But I flew down to interview one of the McDonald's franchisees as she was down there for the McDonald's High School All-American game. But I fly to Chicago, Texas, Florida, everywhere 2 to 3 times a week. But in the beginning, I'm like, I should get my license. And yeah, it takes kind of a year of studying for the
Oh,
written test, going out flying, doing all the to get your private.
Right.
which just allows you to fly by sight. And then if you want to fly something that's more powerful or goes up or is pressurized, goes up higher, then you have all these endorsements you have to get. And then if you want to
Hmm.
fly in the clouds, there's this IFR. So I've probably spent 50, 60 grand in pilot training, but now
Wow.
I'm a multi-engine commercial rated pilot. So
Oh,
I
wow.
can go fly
That's awesome.
anything out there. Yeah. I mean, insurance makes you get
Oh, yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
do initial training on that new airplane whenever you get one, no
Right.
matter. But really, yeah, and so I've had a jet. I've had a twin engine jet called the Phenom 100 EV. I've had an M600 made by Piper. I've had Cirrus, like that. That was one of my first planes.
That's
One with
awesome.
a parachute in it, really cool. Yeah, I
That's
have a
awesome.
Plus PC-12 Pro coming.
Yeah.
Um,
You're
I
the
love
McDonald's
the
version of John Travolta, just collecting planes.
yeah. But it's incredible. And I've been able to buy and sell and make money, which is also really interesting. I never would have thought that there was a way to make money or at least be break even
Right.
and fly for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying fly yourself is one thing, and then leasing your planes to, charter flights and stuff is a big thing. I think it's really cool. The time it takes. I think that's what people forget. As a franchisee in aviation or a deployment, is a lot of those things is the long game. And I think
100%.
people miss that. They want this kind of, I mean, we make fun of the generations nowadays about instant gratification and where screens, and it's not so much that, it's just literally just working towards a long-term goal. And you mentioned you have 100% turnover in about a year plus, and what is your advice to people if you get to talk to them? 'Cause I'm sure at some point managers or whatever turnover as well, as far as guiding them towards their long-term
Yeah.
plan.
The way I look at my restaurants inside of McDonald's is we're only going to be a career for maybe 1% of the people that ever come through our doors.
Mhm.
But my one goal is no matter what they do, I want them to be more prepared for their future when they leave. So I want them to come, especially like the young kids. I want to be able to teach them how to show up on time, how to wear a good uniform, how to take care of a customer, how to deal with leaders, because we have good leaders and bad leaders inside of our restaurants. I want them to leave a better person so that they're ready for the next step, whatever that next step is. And that's really one of the greatest things we do. 1 in 8 Americans have worked at a McDonald's. 1 in 8. So
That's a
you
crazy
look
stat.
at that kind
Holy
of, it's
cow.
crazy. So you
That's
look at
bonkers.
where everybody is today and where they've become. 1 in 8 started in a McDonald's. That was like their first job. And that's what their base is or their foundation or principles that have now led them to where they are today. So I look at McDonald's and it's like it's one of the greatest training grounds in the world.
Wow. That
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that just my brain just exploded when you said that. That's
Yeah.
as a marketing person, I've done a lot of I try to read a lot of that. Is there anything on that, a book about that or anything about that
Uh,
stat? Or
no.
no?
Uh-uh.
Wow, that is bonkers. That's crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, I believe you. I don't question it. I
No,
just
McDonald's, we try to talk about it, right? Because for us, it is a pride point. I mean, me having 100% turnover is not something I'm proud about, but me, 1 in 8 Americans having experienced the McDonald's system is a pride point. I
that's
even got a job
awesome.
that says 1 in 8 McDonald's. Yeah.
You
It's
should,
pretty cool.
you should write a book called 1 in 8. Yeah, just steal that title real quick.
Yeah.
Because
That,
that's a level of influence that's crazy. Because you compare that to even all the branches of the military, you kind of have a weird commonality of it's probably not 1 in 8. It's probably more like probably less than that have been in a branch of the military or ROTC or something. But and they didn't join. But it's an interesting search for influence,
yeah.
and how the baseline of things is that's crazy. I'm sorry that's the stat of the day right there. um, well, I could probably sit here all day long and ask you questions about what you're doing, but it's not good for everybody else. It's what my own personal desire to learn information. But I thank you for what you're doing. I think it's remarkable to go from um, just an enlisted person in the military. I think people forget that if you don't have a degree and all these things, you can't be successful. And your story I think is very inspirational to a number of people to play the long game. And at the end of it is a pretty awesome reward of a quality of life. And
It is.
I think it's awesome to be any. closing remarks or comments or
Yeah.
go ahead.
For members in your audience, if they're actually looking to become a McDonald's franchisee, McDonald's is wanting veterans. They're wanting veteran
Really?
franchise owners. There's very few of us. They even have some of the top dogs. So you look at the top 10 people inside of the McDonald's system, one of them is assigned to recruiting veteran franchisees. And
Really?
so if it's something, but it's full-time and best efforts. It is you're all in and there's no guarantees, but
Yes.
it's like anything, you
Right.
put in the time, energy and invest it and hopefully it turns out well. But McDonald's is because they understand and appreciate who we are and what we do and what knowledge base we have. So that's really important. If anybody wants to learn more about me or anything like that, I did write a book. It's called The Golden Blueprint.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Forgot all about
yeah,
that.
and
Sorry. Got it
no,
right here. I forgot to ask you.
and what it is it's basically the same thing. It's all the lessons and principles that I use in business, that I use in the community, and then I use them at home. Because a lot of people, they look at principles of business but they don't actually take those principles at home. Like, do you have a vision for your business? Do you have, or for your family? Do you have principles and guidelines that you follow? We have what I call the parish constitution, which is like, this is who we are as a parish family. And it goes down to every single category. And we have certain rules. And so it talks a lot about how to not just lead and win in business, but how to lead and win with your family, which obviously is more important.
Right.
And then if anybody wants to, I'm on this thing called Connect. So it's 1 minute to connect. So if anybody has just a question, you can say text. I always respond with a voice message. So if there's something specific they want to ask about, Minnect, Minnect. And then I've also got themarkparish.com if
Yeah.
anybody wants to read that. I'm always happy to help, especially, our brothers and sisters, because we all understand things a little different.
Yeah.
We all have a different lens on what we've done and who we are and what the military means to us. So
So, well, that's awesome, man. Minek, I'm going to have to look that up. I'll definitely have links in the description for all these things. And if you haven't gotten Mark's book, by all means, please do. But man, thank you so much for the time. And
thank
it's
you.
it's definitely needed to hear. And success is always a great thing to hear about. And there's a lot of bad stories, and I think hearing the good ones is always helpful. So, but if you're out there listening and you haven't subscribed, by all means, please do. We're on every platform that you can possibly be on. And
Yeah.
I think, and then otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode.